Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
May 2nd, 2018.
And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
If you're going to San Francisco,
bring an Uzi in your hair and galoshes on your feet for sure. Welcome to the Savage Nation. The jokes are stale but true. Violence is out of control. Robbery is out of control. 38,000 cars broken into. Ask anyone who lives here. Tolerant city here. Tolerant city. Tolerant city. Well, I know you want me to talk about Trump and Mueller. I know that. I know it's in the air. I get it. I wasn't asked by the president what he thinks he should do. He has good people around him. I would tell Mueller to take it and shove it. Like, who the hell do you think you are, basically? And that's it. And take a walk already. You're on a fishing expedition. You couldn't find what you were given the mandate to do, and now you're going after everything, including do I have, sweat in my socks. Get out of here already. No one elected you, Mueller. So I would tell him to just take a walk. I wouldn't respond to him. He's in a war for his life and the life of our agenda. And basically Mueller's trying to steal the election from 50% of the public. And I resent it, frankly. I don't mind that Mueller has a job, but nobody gave Mueller the right to tear down a president when the president did nothing wrong. If there was collusion with Russia, you wouldn't be hearing me say this. How many years does this go on? And they found nothing. And I think it's time already to stop it. The ambulance chaser lawyer, the stripper, the piece of garbage, the stripper, I'm sick of them. I am sick of the stripper garbage and the ambulance chaser lawyer. I'm sick of the vermin in the media who are all hypocrites. Okay, so more lawyer shuffles. He hires now the impeachment lawyer that helped Clinton. You hear this? Okay, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to go back to my own show now that I covered that. I gave you the emotional outlet. I'd rather talk about the chicken curry I had last night than Robert Mueller. But I'm not going to talk about either. I was reading to you from an earlier article written about me in 2006 because it introduces and reintroduces who I really am. And it almost reminds me who I am, to tell you the truth. It was a little harsh about my father, but that was the tie salesman. I didn't like him anyway. Interest in beating the culture once he enrolled in Queens College. He recalls when he and Savage slipped away to Greenwich Village to hang out in coffee houses, smoke pot, and troll for women. Why is that bad? In those days, the future Michael Savage kept a paperback copy of Jack Kerouac's On the Road in his pants pocket. We knew the Whirlwind Union. Shortly after the wedding, that part I'm not going to read. Oh, here's when living in Queens, where he had taken a job as a high school biology teacher, he made a spur-of-the-moment suggestion that they visit Timothy Leary at the psychedelic drug advocate's farm in upstate New York. Blank says Leary took a liking to Savage and made him a gatekeeper at the farm, since Savage was maybe the only person there who wasn't into psychedelic drugs. It's true. I went up to Timothy Leary. He always whispered at you, Timothy Leary, the psychedelic, the LSD guru. He whispered. He made you whisper to him. It was like the age of the whisperers. It was like the person whisperer. And you had to talk quietly or he'd throw you off the farm. So I whispered to him that I don't use psychedelic drugs. I don't use LSD. And I said, for that reason, you should make me the gatekeeper because I'm the only one who's not stoned here. And he said, I like that. Okay, you're the gatekeeper. So I pitched a tent. I remember to this day, I pitched a tent at the front of the estate in Millbrook, New York. Some rich guy liked Leary and lent his family estate to him. And I pitched a tent. And I think I spent the night in the tent. I don't know. When it rained, the tent got flooded. I went home. It was enough already. who wanted to be around a bunch of stoners. It was, it was an experience. It's like having a bad, Indian meal. That's about it. Left her at a hotel while he made an unannounced visit to the widow of author Aldous Huxley, whose work he admired. Ex-wife says, Michael was unpredictable and could be tyrannical, but the one constant about him was his desire for success and to find fame and fortune. Is that a negative? Ryan, does that make it a negative on me? Then you said yes, you're wrong. Then they quote a friend of mine who went nowhere in his life, a former pal from his New York days, saw the same ambition plus something else. Quote, he has a very strong need for public adulation. He wants to be loved. So, is that a put down? No. He recalls the time that Savage, who was a big admirer of comedian Lenny Bruce, bombed mightily during an open mic night in an East Village club. It's true. One of the worst nights of my life. I don't want to relive it, but I got up there once. It was all heroin addicts in a jazz club in Midtown. I'll never forget it as long as I live. I got up there, did my shtick. People looked at me. They were an oil painting. No reaction. It was not painful. It was frightening. But I didn't quit. I did not quit. It was like striking out 4 times in a row at a ball game, but I didn't quit. And so I'd rather do this than read the Mueller thing. I'm sorry. I'm not into Mueller. I don't care about him. He's just another stiff lawyer. So we'll go on. Yes or no? He refers to Ferlinghetti as a jealous little man, dismissing the octogenarian publisher and bookstore owner as a, quote, nothing even when he was something. He was nothing even when he was something. I don't understand why they still admire that old fool. Talk show host shouted dirty beatnik when their paths crossed in North Beach in the mid-'90s. 2 years ago, Savage was getting out of a limo in front of a North Beach restaurant. Ferlinghetti says he tried to say hello, but that Savage abruptly turned and walked off. Savage exhibits irritation when asked about, quote, that beatnik S, which I hate. But that doesn't keep him from expressing his disdain for the old crowd, even if he is less clear about the reasons for it. I'm very clear about it. I know exactly why I don't like them, because they're nobody. And they use their power over everybody. They made believe they were going to publish. Every kid that came to San Francisco wanted to be published by that jerk. And he would use them and abuse them, in my opinion, pretending he was going to publish them in his little poet series. Big deal. Pressed about the latrine slime comments, Savage erupts. Even when he was hanging out among the anarchists, communists, and assorted leftists at Cafe Trieste in the heart of North Beach, Savage says that despite what some may claim, he never had a leftist political point of view. I was more into having a good time and drinking a lot of wine, he insists. I didn't go there to meet Copernicus. Come on. That's pretty good. And I'm not going to read anymore. It would be too self-indulgent. No, let me read the last paragraph. It's from an old article written about me in 2006. Okay? Let's see. He is just as willing to throw bobs at San Francisco, a city whose streets he frequently walks in the evenings, to decompress from high-octane hours at the microphone. I really do love the city, he insists. I just can't stand the vermin who are prominent here. The left-wing S-bags are the only forces you ever hear about. Still true. They most assuredly include the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, whose members he chides as a bunch of narcissistic egomaniacs who think they're bigger than they are. Their antics, he says, are why much of the country thinks of San Francisco as a relatively sick place. Yet he claims such disdain isn't personal. Even after deriding any twosome Newsom, he confesses that he likes the mayor on a personal level. It's true. I can like people and hate their politics, right? I can hate people and despise their politics. Wait, no. I can despise people and like their politics. Most of the people whose politics I like, I can't stand. They're horrible human beings. But politically, do you understand that? No, that's too complicated. Okay, let's go to the callers here. The open mic now. You get up here now. I'm the nightclub. I'm the audience. You're the caller. James on KSFO, line 7. What's on your mind, James?
Hey, it's really funny. We got a lot more in common than I have in common with people my own age anymore. I'm a millennial. I'm 29. And I grew up, I was kind of an avant-garde rebel and went to Berklee College of Music and got really into people like Kerouac, William S. Burroughs, the avant-gardists, the music concrete type people, and you did it because, you have a big heart. You want to be a lover. You want to help other people. You see people in trouble and you want to help them.
That's exactly right. That is right. That's why most young people want to be seen as liberal.
Absolutely. And so I became a liberal, and I got involved with Occupy Wall Street because, you wanted to change something. You see what's coming down in 2008 with TARP and with the big banks getting bailed out. And then all of a sudden you sit down with everybody in a big democratic circle and we try to, introduce ourselves based on our gender pronouns. And I'm like, what? I want to break the banks. I don't care what you are. I don't care what you think you are. And so that kind of got me on this road. And I eventually found you. I found your show. I found out about conservatism. And that's, I think, a lot of the reason why millennials are, coming back. And to bring this back with the beatniks, they were the rebels.
See, I actually resent being called a conservative because I'm really not defined by that narrow definition. You got to understand something. There's a huge differential between the doctrinaire conservatives that you see in the media and me. I'm not them. They're not me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But, the thing about the beatniks, and maybe the thing about yourself, is, they were rebels. They were fighting back against the system.
That is exactly right. And people should never forget that Jack Kerouac was a conservative who died in Florida in his mother's house, who hated Allen Ginsberg at the end because he said he was a communist and a pervert who tried to seduce him when he was young. He was very conservative at the end. He liked Nixon. Did you know that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, he used to write lovingly of Ginsberg. He called him Carlo Marx in his book. But, Carlo Marx, Mr. Ginsberg, he was a subversive, and a lot of the people... Allen Ginsberg, I found out years later, was a lifetime communist and member of NAMBLA, the North American Man-Boy Love Association. He was a child molester. And when Kerouac found that out, he had nothing more to do with him, For him.
So as a millennial, where do you live in what city?
Well, I used to live in Pennsylvania. I actually had a radio show, believe it or not. I had it for 2 years.
Oh, here we go. I knew it was a setup. So, no, but where do you live now?
I live in Kansas now. I got driven out of town by Antifa. Seriously.
What? Out of which town?
Oh, I was in a small Pennsylvania town.
Yeah, coal miner's son. All right, James, thanks for being a millennial, former liberal who loves the show, and Kerouac's on the road. Now, we're going to take a break, and you'll see how desperate they are on Fox News that they're interviewing each other now on their shows. You got the mortadella of talk show hosts up there now. Who's the mortadella whose show it is right now? A mortadella with eyes is more intelligent than Neil Cavuto. Now he's interviewing the mustache. The mustache is so irrelevant, not only did they throw him off radio, but the mustachio no one listens to. The mustachio was a nobody when he was somebody. But they're so desperate on Fox News, they burn through everyone they know that they're interviewing each other now. I am in such good company by being an interviewer on my own show. That's all I need. All right. You want me to talk about Trump and Mueller? I don't know. That's so boring. It's so low IQ. Don't even take the interview, man. That's all you got to do is say no thank you. Or if you do what Hillary Clinton's cabinet secretaries did. Take the fifth. Just dummy up. Just go there and say, I refuse to answer on the grounds that I might incriminate myself, and do it over and over and let the nation go, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. But you didn't say, oh, my God, when Hillary's, all of Hillary's men and women said it. It was nothing to you then, huh? It is a war. And when you're at war, you use every battle axe you can get your hands on. And Trump is at war. And it's time for him to stop trying to be appeasing of Wolf Blitzer and Neil Cavuto and all the other liberals on Fox News. I'll be right back.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. May 2nd, 2018.
On a warm San Francisco
night. It is. Keep playing it a little. 25 minutes after the hour, you're listening to the Savage Nation, broadcasting live from KSFO Studios in San Francisco, which is a real treat for me. I haven't been here in months. But I love coming in here. I even use the public facilities. Of course, now I'm paranoid that I got the flu on my fingers. I'm one of those people who, I remember the story. It says if you use the paper to wipe your face, you know what you're wiping on your face? Even the paper now in the toilet that you pull down for the face is contaminated with you-know-what. You don't know what to do. You don't know what to do in the public environment. I'm looking everyone on the walls that says, did you use sanitizer? Stop the flu from spreading. I'm so paranoid that I'm here. I'm afraid I want to go home already. That's why I'm Michael the Bubble Boy. Oh, my God, you're kidding me. Bob on WABC is kidding me on line 4. I got to take line 4. Bob, what? What is this call?
No, I'm not kidding you at all, Michael. And actually, I lived in Fresh Meadows on 188th Street when I was younger.
Oh, wait, Bob, it says that you're calling from New York and you used to drive Kerouac around. Is that true?
Yes, he lived in the apartment below me in Northport, and I would say it was 66 when my first child was born. He was, I could never figure it out because his first book, On the Road, came out in 57. A second printing came out like 2 weeks later. He must have made a load of money, but the guy was like a derelict.
But what were his politics like since you drove him around?
He was a miserable, well, I shouldn't say miserable and Catholic in the same sentence. He was a French, as you know, a French Quebecois. And his politics...
They complain about everything, I know.
Yeah, and I mean, he was a very miserable guy. He was constantly cursing, constantly beer drunk, and constantly moaning and groaning about wanting to go to live with his mother, which he did. I helped him move out and move into a moving van. In fact, it was Moishe's movie.
Was he politically a leftist or a rightist?
Not at all. He was a right-wing reactionary.
Now, the word reactionary is an odd word that communists use about conservatives, but we'll let that go. What do you recall him saying that would indicate to you that he was a right-winger? We're talking about a man who's held up as a left-wing icon, by the way, for people who never heard of Jack Kerouac. Look, Bob, he was extremely influential in my life. You got to understand, I was a middle-class boy from Queens. I grew up in an attached house. I had a very regimented life. I was required to do good in school. I did the best I could. Hard-working father. Mother stayed home. God bless her as a homemaker. When I read On the Road, I never forget it as long as I live. My friend Harold, the fat kid in the crowd, he said, I found the book. You all got to hear about it. It changed my life because it opened up the whole vast world of America, meaning On the Road. And he put me on the road. I went on the road because of that book, Bob. And look where I wound up here in San Francisco. Oh, look, I'm not doing so bad. But he was the one who got me on the road because of that book. Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, Tahiti, you name it. Middle East, Far East, Near East.
Savage.
So here we are on the Savage Nation. I can easily load up questions on the Mueller thing, and I'm so bored of the topic. I will deal with this impeachment garbage when it happens. I know that Trump shuffled lawyers, and he should get more aggressive. It's war. When you're at war, you go on the attack. Mueller's out of control. Mueller is not elected. Mueller is a rogue prosecutor. Mueller has gone way beyond the mandate of Russia collusion. He's now investigating how much sweat is in Trump's sweat socks after playing a game of golf. And I'm sick of it. We didn't elect this guy. I think Mueller should be investigated, by the way. And if he gets a good lawyer, that's what a good lawyer would do. You know, who will watch the watchers? That's what I want to know. Quies ipsos. I can't remember the Latin. Who will watch the watchers? You know, I'll tell you what I would do. If I were advising Trump, I'd put someone in the White House who would investigate the journalists. All of these SOBs who think they're so smug and so above everybody, I would have people investigating them, following them, seeing what they do after work, who they kissed in 1965. I would be relentless in going after the top 10 antagonists of mine in the media. They're not off limits. What? I mean, they broke the law. They kissed a woman in 1965 against her will. Go dig it up, man. What are they letting guys like Blitzer and Tapper and all of the other guys get away with this like they're suddenly the clean journalists? Everyone has foibles. Everyone has a history. Everyone has a past. Put them on the defensive. That's what I recommend. You want to go to war, go to war. This is no longer a joke anymore with Mueller. He's trying to tear the country apart. He wants to cause a civil war. This man has to be stopped. He's a maniac. That's my opinion. I wouldn't even take the subpoena. You know, who was the president who said, I believe it was Jackson, and I don't mean Jesse. Jackson, who said, Supreme Court ruled against him. Never forget what I'm about to tell you. I don't believe you heard it except for me. There was a president, real tough guy. I think it was Stonewall Jackson. The Supreme Court ruled against him on something, and he said the following. He said, now that the court has ruled, let them enforce. Now, what do you think he was saying? He's saying, I'm the president. I control the military. You can take your ruling and shove it up, you know where. Just take a walk. Who are you? It's the same with Trump. He's got to get tougher, not softer. This is the time for him to just get tougher and be more Trump and not be broken by these people. Break them, don't be broken by them. That's what I would advise. And you know I'm right. You know I'm right. Jimmy on WABC is calling about an earlier topic. Jimmy, welcome to the program. What's on your mind?
I'm just going.
Jimmy, are you still there?
I'm going back to the article you were reading, and my father called me up and he said, Jimmy, you got to get on the radio. Listen to this guy. And the first thing, how I was introduced to you was, you were telling somebody, are you capable of putting a sentence together? And with that, I busted out laughing. And then as I got older, now I'm 55, I've been listening to you ever since. And God rest my son's soul, he was listening to you. So that was 3 generations of Michael Savage listeners. And it ain't going to stop until my eyes close, because I enjoy everything you say, and I learn a lot from you, history-wise as well. And God bless you.
Well, I'm sorry to hear what you just said. I don't want to dwell on it, but you lost your son, huh?
Yes, I did.
I don't want to drag you into that. I just want to say thank you for listening to me on ABC all these years, Jimmy.
No.
3 generations is a nice thing.
He's in heaven.
No,
I know
actually,
that.
I'm warming up now for the next phase of my life.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, whether it be in radio, whether it be in politics or something else. I don't know what it is. I swear to you. I'm not just jerking everyone's chain out there. I'm not 100% sure what fate has in store for me. No one does. You really know what fate has in store for you?
Not at all.
Jimmy, thanks for the call. But did anyone read God, Faith, and Reason? Remember how it was supposed to end? My friend's father is dead. He's being buried. I'm at the graveside. The Mexican grave diggers are listening to the Hebrew chants. They're moved by it. There's only 3 people at this poor guy's grave. He had survived Auschwitz. The Nazis cut 3 of his fingers off with a saw for fun. This guy he had been through hell and back, and he was a pretty mean, screwed up guy as a result of it. But he liked me. I liked him, whatever. I turned to the guy at the graveside, who I never met. It was my friend's friend. And I learned afterwards that he was from Israeli intelligence, and I'll never understand to this day how he knew him. And I said something to him. And he said to me, we never know where we're going to die with the 70s rockers laugh and cackle. That was the last line of the book as I wrote it. It's a great ending to a book. And it's still true. You really know where you're going to die? I know where I'm going to live, which is right here in front of the microphone. Is that, you know why I'm addicted to radio? Because I'm addicted to radio. This is an addictive medium. You got to understand something. I was told this by the first program director I ever had, because I was new to the medium in 94, and he said, Michael, you find this to be the greatest high you could ever get. When you do radio right, he told me, when you put your heart and soul into it, you're going to get higher than you ever did with anything. And it's true. You got 2-3 hours a day, and if you do it right and you put your heart and soul into it and you know what you're talking about, and you're really walking that line and you're really way up there, you're in a high. And so for 3 hours a day or so, I fly like an eagle. For 21 hours a day, I crawl like everyone else, like a fallen angel. Now, I don't want to talk about Mueller. I got to tell you, I don't want any calls on the subject. I know that that's a big news story. You know, I could say the hot button words and we could talk about it, and then it's going to bore me. I don't want to be bored if you don't mind. Shock poll, 46% favor government jobs for all. No kidding. How'd that work out for Venezuela? Work out very well? No. Didn't work out too well for Venezuela, government job. They can't afford a salami hanging in the butcher store. I was thinking about Bernie Sanders, what a creep he is. He's smart enough to know that he can't deliver on these promises, and yet he's pandering to the poor and those in society who didn't, catch a break. And he's offering them a government job. And I'm saying, this guy is such a classic demagogue communist. But God forbid, I will tell you, there's a chance he could win. Because everything seems to be a pendulum swing in our country. Obama was a reaction to Bush and Iraq. Did you know that? Obama was a reaction to Bush and the Iraq War. So we elected Obama, who fooled us. He said he was going to, do this and do that and do this and do that. I liked Obama's campaign rhetoric. I thought it was great. I didn't vote for him, but I thought the campaign rhetoric was good. We're going to have, clarity and vision and openness. And I believed him. It would be nice if we got it. So Obama was a reaction to Bush in the Iraq War. Trump was a reaction to Obama's racism and lies. Now, what's the reaction going to be to Trump? Whether it's the end of this term, which I don't think it will be, or the end of 8 years. It's liable to be pure communism. Outright socialism or communism for the first time in American history. And that old Seltzer man just might pull it off. The only thing that could stop the Seltzer man, Bernie Sanders, is the scandal surrounding his wife and that college up there in Vermont, which they scammed. And I'm sure that opposition researchers will find more on him. He was known as a deadbeat bum as a youth, never worked, a real creep, a real nothing. And they'll bring that up. But Bernie Sanders knows, because he's an intelligent man, very smart, what he is doing by pandering to the poor and the downtrodden. And as I said to you yesterday, that he is really not a reincarnation of Trotsky, not Marx. The closest that he comes to one of the early Bolsheviks is Kerensky, who was a moderate communist, a moderate Bolshevik, actually, at that. And he got killed. Kerensky got killed off. He was the original boss of the Bolshevik Party. They knocked him off because he was too moderate. I don't know if you know any of that. It's interesting. So, so Bernie is a Kerensky. And I don't think he could win. So now we have a new lawyer for Trump, Flood. Flood warning on Trump's new lawyer, likely to cut him off from Mueller interview. I wouldn't let him go. What in the world would Trump gain by talking to Mueller? It's a den of lies. It's a den of vipers. They're going to nail him on something. And he shouldn't go. I don't know who advised Trump to go in there to begin with. It wouldn't have been anyone I know. He's teaching now at the National Teacher of the Year event. All right, that's nice. There's the Trump I know. Go Don. Yay, go Donald. I like that thing with the button. This guy doesn't drink. Why don't you give him credit for that? He never drinks alcohol. Why don't you give him credit for that, all of you bad people out there? Doesn't use drugs, doesn't drink. So what's wrong with that? You don't like to say, maybe that's the problem. Maybe he's too sober for this country. Everyone's on drugs. So they bring in this guy who was Clinton's impeachment lawyer. And he's going to step into live negotiations between the president's lawyers and Mueller's team. And I believe that the president, whether he's subpoenaed or not, should absolutely avoid talking to Mueller. I think Flood will be the lawyer to tell him stay away. Stay away. David Rifkin, a former Justice Department and White House official in the Reagan and Bush administrations, also said he expects Flood to be more combative than Cobb. It's a step up from Ty Cobb, Rifkin told the Daily Beast. He's not a constitutional lawyer, but he is first rate. I don't care whether he's first rate. All I need is a tough litigator. First rate or 10th rate. I want tough litigator. I want someone to stand up to Mueller who's not God Almighty. It's enough with Mueller already. Mueller is an unelected gangster as far as I'm concerned. A gangster, that's all he is. Now, let's move on. Let's go to KVOR in Colorado. Dave on line 3, what's on your mind?
Just want to say that letter, that archive document you found, to me, that guy doesn't realize I believe he helped you get to where you are, because I'm the kind of listener that hears something like that, and then I got to find out for myself, and then I'll research it, and I'm a Savage Nation guy for about 6 years now. That's all. It was an interesting article. They try to smear me, but in a strange way, they didn't really achieve it. I mean, I started today's show by saying, when does criticism become defamation? When does tolerance become degeneracy? And when does diversity become racism? This fits right into when does criticism become defamation. I mean, he tried to defame me, but he really didn't achieve it, is what you're saying, right? Right. And, I'll tell you why I listen to you. I'm sick and tired of the fake news, the BS, to get along with everybody. You say it the way it is. This is it. And I'll tell your audience right now, I challenge anybody to find you to be a liar with anything you say, because I don't think it's possible.
That's funny. Well, I won't comment on that. I mean, everyone tells white lies at some point in their life. Let's put it to you that way. But I appreciate your listenership, and I hope you keep listening. You know that it's already 46 minutes after the hour on the Savage Nation. And my sandwich just arrived, this foot long from Subway. It smells so good, I'm going to die. But I got a quick break coming, then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to try to eat 6 of the 12 inches during the break.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Look, before we get back to the news, views, and reviews I'm famous for, I want you to think about your circulation. I talk about it every day because good circulation is crucial to energy and stamina. We all know that. That's why you run and this and that. Circulation is what brings oxygen and nutrients throughout your body. You exercise longer, you do more everyday activities, and you recover more quickly. And I'm telling you to drink Super Beets to promote healthy circulation. Why? Because it's real. Super Beets promotes the body's own natural ability to produce healthier circulation for increased energy and stamina all day long. Only Super Beets is made from beets grown to exacting standards, and then they concentrate them into superfood crystals. So if you want to improve your circulation, call 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeets.com. And with your first order, you're going to get another 30-day supply of Super Beets for free, and strips, indicator strips, so you can see how Super Beets works in your body. Okay, and free shipping. Good deal. Call 800-481-0504. Go to SavageLovesBeets.com today. I actually have a friend who's married to a younger woman who tells me the beets really work in an area I can't talk about because it's a family show. They do. I mean, it's crazy. The nitric oxide, etc. I mean, you look at what's in those little blue pills. That's the same thing. Only this is like a food. All right, we can't talk about that. Let's move on. Let's see. I got a 12-inch sandwich. I am done. This is a test to see if I'm telling you the truth. You can't see it on the screen, but Clint will testify that of the 6 inches of the 12-inch sandwich in that break, I have, 1.5 inches left, Clint, would you say? Of like the ersatz turkey sandwich. Why does it taste so good? It's like fake bread, fake turkey, fake celery, and it tastes so good. I can't help it. I love it. Let's take the callers. Howard on WABC line 7. Go ahead. You're on the Savage Nation.
Michael, you've made a couple of comments in the past half hour that gravely concern me. Your first was you recommended that the White House follow and intimidate the press as a way of fighting back. Therefore, threatening... I agree with that.
I think that's very good. Aren't they intimidating him?
You know what? A free press has to remain free, good or bad. That's a bad step.
Hold on. What makes you think that a free press has license to lie? Tell me where it's written.
They don't have a license to lie, and the truth can be...
Howard, for 1 year now, the so-called free press that you worship has been lying about Russia collusion. They are not above the law. I would say look into their past. Look into their relationships. Look into whose hands are feeding their hands. I think that is fair game.
I think you're trying to control the truth, Michael, and that's the wrong way to do it.
Well, wait a minute. Control the truth with a pack of liars and a pack of thieves?
Michael, if shows like yours continue to...
No, listen to me. No, you listen to me, my friend. You are a classic good liberal, and you actually believe the textbook about a free press. We do not have a free press in this country. We have an out-of-control maniacal press. They have stopped being objective. They never were objective. They're foaming at the mouth anti-Trumpers, and they've invented the Russia collusion story, and when they came up with nothing, now they're going on to something else. So where's the free press, Howard?
Michael, I don't disagree that the press is wrong on the Russia collusion. I don't disagree with that at all. But the press can be right, the press can be wrong. When it's controlled by the White House, or it's manipulated through... I didn't say control them. I said give them a taste of their own medicine. Hire investigators to look into the background of the biggest critics of the president. And you could start with that mad woman, Maxine Waters, who doesn't shut her big mouth.
Look into her years running the finance committee that gave out loans to banks when her husband ran a bank and see where the $12 million went. Then you'll see her shut her big mouth.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
I'm back in the USSR. You don't know how lucky you are, boy. Back in the USSR.
Michael Savage, hour number 3, KSFO Studio, San Francisco to the world. I guess you could say that I'm talking about the Mueller deal, and that, in my opinion, Trump should absolutely not appear before Mueller. He cannot win. There's no way. You go before a prosecutor or any skilled lawyer for 3 hours, they're going to trip you up. There's no way Trump can win from that interview, and I believe that Giuliani is misadvising him. And I will tell you why. I think Giuliani was the biggest mistake he has made yet. Giuliani comes from the Southern District of New York, former federal prosecutor, as you know. Giuliani has 1 foot in the SDNY, Southern District of New York, and 1 foot wherever it is, in a security company. I think Giuliani is feathering his own nest, and I would say there's a high likelihood, and I don't know, you're not going to like this. I mean, Giuliani's like, God to most of you. I don't trust him. How do you like that? I think, like all men on earth, he's got larceny in his heart, and I think that he's looking out for number one, which is himself, and I think he's feathering his own nest for after it's over. How do you like that? You never heard that before, and you're never going to hear it again from anyone on the conservative side, because Giuliani's like a demigod. But not to me, he isn't. And I think Trump should not listen to him. Trump should not appear before Mueller, and he should ignore the subpoena. It's as simple as that. If you put Mueller himself in front of a prosecutor for 3 hours, tell me what would come up in those 3 hours. Tell you what, let's play games for a minute. I'll be the prosecutor asking Mueller some questions. All the questions I would ask Mueller would be about his collusion to bring down Trump. You're telling me in 3 hours of my questioning I couldn't find out that he in fact did collude with various Democrats and with the Hillary Clinton campaign and with the Obamas to bring down Trump? You're telling me I couldn't prove that? I could do it in 3 minutes, not 3 hours. I would get emails that were not trashed and would show that you got Obama's fingerprints on them with Mueller, you got Hillary's fingerprints on them with Mueller, you got every left-winger's fingerprints on them with Mueller. So put Mueller on the stand for 3 hours if you want clarity and honesty in this nation. Where is it written that Trump has to answer the questions of a partisan, out-of-control gangster prosecutor? Tell me where it's written. And number 2, it's a controversial statement I made, and I will double down on it. The press is not a free press when it is evidence that it is no longer a free press. It's an own press and a biased press. And therefore, turnabout is fair game. And if it was up to me, I would hire a team of 50 detectives to follow Jake Tapper, Wolf Blitzer, name them if you want. Find out what they do after hours. Find out what they did in 1965. Find out what Wolf Blitzer was doing in 1985. Find out where they're getting their information from. Find out which bars in Washington, D.C. they go to after work and who they're talking to. I was in one of them last week. A very famous bar where you're supposed to be seen and not heard in the downstairs of the Hay Adams Hotel. It's really overrated. I mean, whatever it is, it was fun for a while. You know, at the end of the day, you can't get in there. It's full of millennials getting, their drinks and relaxing and hide in. At night, it's a little more interesting, but truly that's an example, though, of places that you could trail them, take pictures of them. In other words, do to them what they are doing to Trump and everyone in Trump's family. Because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And in this case, the gander is the media. And don't tell me they're above the law, and don't tell me that it's intimidation to find out what they're doing and how they're colluding, because they're colluding with the Democrat Party as sure as we are sitting here. You would start with Jeff Zucker, for example, of CNN, one of the most rabid mad dogs in the history of the media. That man doesn't believe in a free press. He believes in a freak press. A freak press. Jeff Zucker is running a freak press on CNN. Everyone knows it's not an objective journalistic outlet. Trail Jeff Zucker around for 24 hours, 7 days a week. Find out what Jeff Zucker is doing, who he's talking to. Find out where Jeff Zucker's alliances lie. Find out if there's collusion between Jeff Zucker and anyone in the Obama or Hillary Clinton camps. Then you might have a chance at finding out whether there's true journalism left in this country. That's my opinion. And I don't think you're going to hear it anywhere else. The last thing Trump should do is appear before Mueller. Absolutely avoid him like the plague. And that's the end of it. What do you think about that? Michael on WTMA in South Carolina, line 5. You're up on the Savage Nation. What's your opinion?
I think he should use legal precedent that the Obama people did frequently.
Stop. What did you... Jim, what is he saying, Jim? You're the call screener. What kind of call is that? Was the guy in a madhouse with a fake phone from Japan? Okay, let's take the callers now. KSFO online, Jim, line 2. Let's try you.
Hello?
Yeah, Jim, line 2. You're up. Yeah, hello. You're on the radio. Hello, yes.
No, well, my name's not Jim. It's Gio, but that's fine. Hey, Dr. Savage, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you challenging that guy that called about the free press and how you're doubling down on this. You are absolutely 100% dead on, as you are with the Mueller thing. President Trump should never sit down with this guy ever.
Ever.
Free press.
Ever. It's a snake pit. It's a den of vipers. He can't win.
Agreed. 100%.
Listen, I'll tell you what. You sit anyone down for 3 hours in front of a skilled litigator, prosecutor, who's deposing him. They could trip you up so many different ways to Sunday. You wouldn't even be able to spell your own name at the end of it.
You would be cooked. You're absolutely 100%.
Jim, I have been in, I'm not in courtrooms, but I have been deposed for hours during a what do you call it? An arbitration. It was a 3-judge panel, 3 lawyers. I was deposed. I got so angry at the other lawyers that I got up and insulted them in the middle of the deposition. My lawyer couldn't believe I did it. He said, I told you not to do that. I said to the lawyers, you know, this room smells badly because your suits stink. Your suits stink because you're lying and you're trying to trick me up. And the stink in here is overwhelming. I need to take a break because the air conditioning can't get the stench out of this room. And I walked out, and my lawyer ran out in the hall and said, don't do that, Michael. I went back in, and I said, okay, I won't do it. I sat for 1 more minute of their questions. I did it again. I said, I'm sorry, the stench from the lawyers, the opposition, is so overwhelming, I'm leaving here. These people are not good people. They're not honest people. Most people in this profession of journalism or legal profession, they're not honest people. You know that, and I know that.
In full disclosure, I'm a libertarian, small R Republican, and I'm a former regular Army officer. And from the cheap seats, this guy Mueller and his entire team, to me, he's a blackguard and a scoundrel, and he absolutely is colluding with all of those folks, and I won't waste your caller's time, with everyone you said.
No, you're right. Jim, listen to me. It's so clear to anyone watching this charade that Mueller is, number one, a biased prosecutor who looks to me like a gangster in a suit, representing a team of gangsters trying to destroy a presidency. That's number one. That's my position. Okay, the other side says it the other way. But I want to talk about the press. I love a free press. I'm so allegedly part of the free press, meaning I'm a free commentator. I love that. But if you are so partisan that you are working with the party that is on the outs, trying to bring down the party that is on the in, you're no longer a member of the free press. You are colluding with that element. You're in collusion with the Democrats, and you should be found out. And that's why I say Trump should hire a team of investigators to follow around Jeff Zucker, Jake Tapper, Wolf Blitzer, and all of the other antagonists of his administration. And then let's see how honest these free presses really are. That's all I got to say on this matter. It's 15 minutes after the hour of the Savage Nation. Before we move on, there was some sound I didn't get to that I think is worth playing. And I want to go to the one that I found that I forgot already. Here, Schumer on Trump picks. It's the last one on page 5. You have that one to play? You got to listen to this very carefully. You talk about, you have it or don't you have it? No, it doesn't. I asked you for 2 hours ago. It's on. Now, when you know that Schumer's primary donors are Wall Street bankers. How does Schumer get away with a statement like this? Tell me how he gets away with it. Because there is no free press. Do you understand what I just said to you? When you get what's her name? That one, Maxine Waters. When you get a Maxine Waters screaming for a year straight, impeach in front of crowds, and then she stops doing it and says, just get out of there, and nobody will investigate Maxine Waters when she sat on the Finance Committee in Congress and gave her husband a sweetheart loan when he ran a minority bank and the money was never paid back the last I checked. Tell me what kind of free press we have. We do not have a free press. And I say what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Turnabout is fair play. It is time for this government, this administration, to investigate the journalists who are lying about their objectivity and are in collusion with the Democrats to bring down this administration. That's my opinion. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
22 minutes after the hour, Michael Savage live from San Francisco in KSFO studios. And I guess the conversation that I'm having with you has gone down to this, which is turnabout is fair play. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. We do not have a free press in this country. We have a freakish press in this country that is clearly in collusion with the Democrat Party to bring down a duly elected president and undo our agenda. And therefore, I say, do to them what they are doing to Trump and Trump's family, which is hire investigators to follow them around the clock, see who they have meeting with, check into their background, depose them, get emails from them, find out who they met with, who they conspired with in the Democrat Party. I do not understand why you don't see it my way. I really don't. Sure, I believe in a free press, but we're so past the point of a free press in this country that the rules no longer apply. Moreover, I don't think it's illegal to find out if a journalist, so-called, is colluding with a party in order to attack the other party. And by the way, the same may be true on the other side. I'm not blind to that. There are people on the other side who pose as commentators who basically have a desk in the White House. I don't like that either, by the way. I didn't like it before I went there, and I don't like it after I went there. That's out of bounds as far as I'm concerned. I don't even have to mention the name. So I went there. I met the president for 30 minutes. I met the vice president for 30 minutes. I met the incoming Speaker of the House, McCarthy, for 30 minutes. I met the congressman and other congressmen. I'm allowed to do that, but I'm not colluding with them. I intend to work with them on a very specific topic, which is saving the African elephants and working on saving the environment in this country, clean air, clean water, etc. I have focused on that because it's a nonpartisan area. It's a nonpartisan area. I am bulletproof on those areas. Nobody can hit me on it. That's why I only want to talk about that. First of all, I've worked in the area for 40 years, in the environmental area for 40 years. So my bona fides are better than most of my antagonists. That's number one. And number two, I think they're important issues. But I would say that anyone who has a talk show or anyone who has a television show and is in and out of the White House and talks to the president every night and every day is not doing himself or doing the country a service. That is my opinion. And it would have been true when Obama was in office. Did you like people in the media when Obama was in office, you found out was so cozy with him? Didn't you take umbrage at that? Didn't you find it offensive when you found that certain people from the media were in the White House all the time? Well, the same should be true here. But going to this point of Mueller, specifically, we know Mueller is not working in a vacuum. We know Mueller was handpicked. We know Mueller is not above the law. We know that Mueller is working clearly with the Democrat Party to destroy Donald Trump and his entire regime, and also his agenda. And so, therefore, I say turnabout is fair play. And I see nothing wrong with investigating the goings about of those in the media who are such loudmouth anti-Trumpers. That means everyone on MSNBC, New York Times, CNN. I do not see why that is a violation of our democratic rules at all. This is a democracy. Great. It's a free press. When has it last been a free press in this country? Tell me when this press was last free and was unbiased. Tell me when this press was somewhat objective. I don't remember it in my lifetime, incidentally. And so that's my position. And whether you agree with it or not is your business, not mine. I'm here to give you my opinion. So now we have Vice President Pence on the border with the caravan. And I want to reiterate what I learned earlier today. I went into a little sushi stand before the show. No, I didn't eat fish. I ate the California roll, which is avocado, basically. And it's two Filipinos that I've known in and out for years, of Filipino heritage. They're 60 years old. I hadn't been in there in months, so long. Oh, Savage, you look so good. How are you? I said, I'm on the way to the radio station. Without prompting, they said to me, what do you think about the caravan? I said, well, I think you should kick them out of the country. That's what I think about it. I said, they have no right in our country. What do you mean caravan of what? Freeloaders and leeches? These people said, you're 100% right. They said, take a guess how much we pay. We're both 60 years old. We both have diabetes. We both need insulin. Take a guess what we pay, they said to me, for health care. $4,100 a month. These two people who own a little tiny hole-in-the-wall sushi stand. He said, we can't afford it. I said, why do you think you're $4,100 a month? Why are you paying so much? They said, because all of the money that we're paying goes for the bums in the street and for the illegal aliens on the border. And we can't stand it. You're 100% Savage. You're 100% right. Now, remember, these are ethnic minorities in this country, and they were not prompted. They wanted to tell me what they thought. So if you think that what Nancy Pelosi tells you, or what Wolf Blitzer tells you, or what the New York Times tells you, or what the Chronicle tells you is what the people think, you are mistaken. Because I know more about what the people think than what these people are telling you they think. They don't all. You can fool some of the people some of the time, some of the people all the time, but you can't fool all of the people all the time in plain English. Okay? It's that simple. Now, there are other stories that I want to talk about. You got a guy like Jerry Brown, one of the biggest deceivers in the history of the state of California. You got Pence on the border telling us that the caravan is being exploited by open border advocates. Let's listen to Pence in clip 3. Would you play that, please?
They're being exploited by open border political activists and an agenda-driven media. Men and women and children like those gathered at our border today are exploited by human smugglers and criminal and drug cartels who seize on their hardship and difficulty to undermine our laws and to profit for themselves.
This is a very decent man, Pence. One of the most decent men that's ever walked into the Washington den of vipers. If you watch television, as I do, and you watch that show Narcos about the cartels and how they bring in smugglers and mules into this country with drugs, are you stupid enough to tell me they're not using the caravan to smuggle in gang members who are going to kill people in this country? Are you that stupid to believe that?
Savage.
I speak 50 words of English. And I got 10 mil in the bank. I speak 50 words of English. And I got 10 mil in the bank, Jank.
So if I leave radio, I have a new career as a rapper. A millennial, what did I call myself? A perennial rapper. The perennial rapper. Probably be a big hit. Think of all of the old age homes in Boca Raton that I could do. Like Robert De Niro. As you can see, I'm in a kind of mischievous mood. And the special counsel and Mueller, I'll talk about it when the time is right. The time is not right for me yet. It's like, what am I going to get excited over something I can't control? Remember. The average person listens to radio about 9 minutes in a 3-hour period. Did you know that? Do you know that when I started, I was just speaking about this with the program director here at KSVO, Mike Anthony, great guy. I said, Mike, in the 90s, my TSL was the longest in the business. It was 38 minutes per show. No one could believe it. And I thought it was too short, 38 minutes. If I was up there performing for 3 hours, I wanted to know why they weren't listening for at least 2 of the 3. But it was 38 minutes, which was very long. The TSL now is 9 minutes. People's attention spans, they have other things they want to do. And the number one trend in talk radio, AM talk radio, is people are not listening to it on stations anymore. They're listening to it online. We all know that. There are 6 or 8 stations in this cluster. Sports stations, news, talk like ours and the other station. My show on stream is the largest streaming show in this cluster. I get callers from around the country. I get callers from Europe on KSFO.com. And the funny part is that's where the audience is going. And unless we go with them, I'm going to be here one way or the other. I want to be with you. So I just saw this in the local rag here. New approach for the city's most troubled. Why is there such sympathy for such garbage in the streets? I'll never understand why they have such sympathy for violent felons in the gutters who are doing this to the city. San Francisco may soon change the way it deals with people who drift along city streets, addled by drugs, or suffering from severe mental illness. I'm supposed to have compassion? Put him in a bug house. Stop already with the compassion, stupid. Compassion is a choice. And when tolerance becomes degeneracy, what you do is you change your viewpoints. Tolerance becomes degeneracy when a man is defecating in a mailbox or taking his thing out in front of your child or hitting another man over the head with a metal pole. On Tuesday, the Board of Supervisors in this stupid city approved an ordinance to give the city attorney authority over conservatorship proceedings. You know what that is? The process of forcing mentally ill people into treatment or putting them in the care of a guardian. Those cases are currently overseen by the DA. The DA here is useless. He's a non-DA. So a supervisor sponsors the legislation, and she wants the city to rethink its approach to involuntary psychiatric commitments. It's about time. And she said is to shift those proceedings from the criminal to the civil. She ought to run for the mayorship. At least she knows what she's talking about. Because we have mentally ill in the streets. I've been talking about it for years. Finally, the city has had enough is enough, right? Let's see. De Niro attacks Sarah Sanders. Trump bullies and liars deserved roast. You know, De Niro is showing all the signs of presenile dementia. I was told, Robert, I hope you're listening, and I know many celebrities in New York listen, Mr. De Niro. I have been such a great fan of yours as an actor, but when you started to express these radical, insane bullying positions of yours, I realized something, that my professor at Berkeley, who was a medical doctor, and the dean of the School of Public Health, and a fine man, said that, Michael, just remember this, as you get older and you're studying people's minds, you'll come to understand that the first thing that goes in the elderly is their judgment. I believe De Niro is showing a loss of judgment and evidence of presenile dementia. Because it's one thing to have strong opinions as I have, but to be this vicious about it as De Niro is, to call those who attack Sarah Huckabee Sanders good and call her a bully and a liar when she was bullied by that low-life woman bully. But listen to this. De Niro told this audience at the Film Society of Lincoln Center's annual Chaplin Award Gala in New York, I'm telling you that De Niro needs help. He is cutting women apart and making believe that he's doing it. I think he's sort of a ventriloquist for someone else. I think somebody has gotten control of De Niro's mind. I don't even think it's him. I was going to talk about it, but I'm not going to, because I just did. Facebook brings in advisor for anti-conservative bias. That's a funny story. I'll tell you why it's a funny story, because everything that Zuckerberg does is a lie. That's how he got so far. Facebook brings in an advisor for anti-conservative bias. You say, oh, that's good. They examine the social media company's effect on underrepresented communities, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to fight back against the fact that they claim they censor conservative voices while promoting liberal ones. And Facebook has been damaged by reports that allows advertisers to exclude users based on politics and race. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, wow, that's not bad. Facebook is bringing in an outside advisor to help it avoid potential bias against conservative voices. I read on in the article. It says the civil rights audit will be guided by Laura Murphy, director of the ACLU's Washington Legislative Office. Hey, with friends like her, I don't need Hitler. I need her to represent conservatives, the ACLU? Who is he fooling, Zuckerberg? Well, anyway, USA Today says Boy Scouts drop boy from name as girls are admitted. That's good. Why would they do that? They used to be Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. And it made sense to me, because I was a boy in the Boy Scouts. And I knew girls in the Girl Scouts. But why would the Boy Scouts drop boy from the name of its program? To rename it the more gender-neutral Scouts, BSA? I think they should drop the word Scouts and A and just call it BS. I also saw that a window blew out on another Southwest Airlines plane. And it led me to think that I think that window seats are going to be very, very much available on that airline in the future. Would you take a window seat on Southwest? I mean, if I sat in the... No, sir, you. Would you like a window seat? No, you take it. No, I can see fights breaking out on Southwest Airlines now. But you were assigned to that seat. I don't want it. I want to sit on an aisle. No, you take it, sir. Anyway, crazy stuff out there, right? But there's talk in the air now of Mueller again, which I'm loath to do. The president and Mueller are in a death spiral here. Mueller may subpoena president, obstruction, key focus, serious threat, more lawyer shuffle. And it's on the Drudge Report. It's my go-to places, And what I'm trying to figure out here is, how did a lawyer like Mueller, who was not elected, become more powerful than a president? Who elected this cretin? It's time for Trump to fire Mueller and take the heat. Who is he afraid of? Jake Tapper? Would anyone be afraid of Jake Tapper other than a euthanized pigeon? Who would be afraid of Jake Tapper and what he's going to say on the radio, on the TV? Even a euthanized pigeon wouldn't fear Jake Tapper. Are you afraid of the Wolfman Blitzer? I don't think he should care. I think that he should fire Mueller and take the heat. Because those who hate him anyway. His approval's at 49. It's as high as it's going to go. We all know we hate the media. We hate the fake news. We know it's all fake news. We know that it's all left-wing bias, day in and day out. That's all they do. They smear anyone who doesn't agree with their agenda, and their agenda is really quite psychotic. It's suicidal. Who is more of a threat to Trump, Kanye West or Mueller? For Kanye West, to go back to my first topic, to say that slavery is a choice, indicates to me that the Kanye West is stoned out of his mind and doesn't know what he's talking about, or he's doing this to set Trump up for a fall. I want you to listen to clip 1, please. Take my clip, please.
When you hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. Like, you was there for 400 years and it's all of y'all? It's like we're mentally in prison. I like the word prison because slavery goes too direct to the idea of blacks. It's like slavery, Holocaust Jews, slavery is blacks. So prison is something that unites us as one race, blacks and whites being one race. That we're the human race.
It just shows you that you could be a moron and make $50 million a year. It just shows you could be a complete idiot who makes no sense and make $50 million a year, which goes to my rap song that I did a number of years ago. So I think Trump should stay away from this fool. I think he's a danger to Trump, and he shouldn't embrace him just because he needs the demographic. Sir, I'm live in San Francisco. I feel great. If you want to see what I look like right now, I guess you could see it on my website or on Twitter. A friend of mine said, that picture you sent to you in the studio, you look happy. I like being in the city. After I was in Washington, D.C. last week and I broadcast live from Westwood One Studios, the people were so affirmative and nice. So I come in today. Do I have a minute to tell a story about sushi? I go to a little stand near the station. 2 Filipino people, a man and woman in there. They're 60. And I bought sushi from them for over 10 years when I'm in the city. There's nice little people in a little small hole in the wall. So I come in. I'm wearing a nice sport jacket, a nice hat. I decided to dress up for my grandfather. He didn't want to disappoint my deceased grandfather's looking down from heaven. He's, what are you dressing like a bum for? Just because you're in San Francisco, you got to look like a nobody? Put a jacket on. What's wrong with you? You're representing the family. So I put on a nice jacket. I go in. So right away they say, "Oh, Michael Savage, how are you? You look great." Immediately, without another word, you know what they said to me? "What do you think about these migrants on the border?" I said, "Send them back. We can't afford them." Now, these are 2 Filipino people working so hard. I said, "Yes, send them back." They said, "We agree with you." They said, "You know how much we pay for health insurance? The 2 of us have diabetes? $4,100 a month." I said, "How?" I said, "What? The 2 of you working in this little store, $4,100 a month for health care?" "Yes." I said, "Do you know why your health care costs are so high?" "Yes, Michael, we do. Because we have to pay for the illegal aliens who come here like sponges and they don't work. And all the bums in the street," they said. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Savage Nation, I will tell you the average person out there is not so average. The average person knows what is going on. And all the liars like Pelosi up on the Hill, all the liars like Jerry Brown up there in Sacramento who are disconnected from reality, who think they own minorities, they don't even understand that minorities are up and on their game. They know what they're doing, and they resent the border jumpers. They don't want benefits going to these so-called dreamers or schmeemers or schemers. As far as I'm concerned, America comes first. The poor in this country deserve better care than they're getting. And they should not, the workers, the poor working people, should not have to pay for the free ride that the slime that is sliding over the border comes here for. You don't like those words? Then go back to 1996. San Francisco's angriest man. That's me. And I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
I guess you could say that I'm talking about the Mueller deal, and that, in my opinion, Trump should absolutely not appear before Mueller. He cannot win. There's no way. You go before a prosecutor or any skilled lawyer for 3 hours, they're going to trip you up. There's no way Trump can win from that interview, and I believe that Giuliani is misadvising him. And I will tell you why. I think Giuliani was the biggest mistake he has made yet. Giuliani comes from the Southern District of New York, former federal prosecutor, as you know. Giuliani has 1 foot in the SDNY, Southern District of New York, and 1 foot wherever it is, in a security company. I think Giuliani is feathering his own nest, and I would say there's a high likelihood, and I don't know, you're not going to like this. I mean, Giuliani's like, God to most of you. I don't trust him. How do you like that? I think like all men on earth, he's got larceny in his heart, and I think that he's looking out for number one, which is himself, and I think he's feathering his own nest for after it's over. How do you like that? You never heard that before, and you're never going to hear it again from anyone on the conservative side, because Giuliani's like a demigod. But not to me, he isn't. And I think Trump should not listen to him. Trump should not appear before Mueller, and he should ignore the subpoena. It's as simple as that. If you put Mueller himself in front of a prosecutor for 3 hours, tell me what would come up in those 3 hours. Tell you what, let's play games for a minute. I'll be the prosecutor asking Mueller some questions. All the questions I would ask Mueller would be about his collusion to bring down Trump. You're telling me in 3 hours of my questioning I couldn't find out that he in fact did collude with various Democrats and with the Hillary Clinton campaign and with the Obamas to bring down Trump? You're telling me I couldn't prove that? I could do it in 3 minutes, not 3 hours. I would get emails that were not trashed and would show that you got Obama's fingerprints on them with Mueller, you got Hillary's fingerprints on them with Mueller, you got every left-winger's fingerprints on them with Mueller. So put Mueller on the stand for 3 hours if you want clarity and honesty in this nation. Where is it written that Trump has to answer the questions of a partisan, out-of-control gangster prosecutor? Tell me where it's written. And number two, it's a controversial statement I made, and I will double down on it. The press is not a free press when it is evidence that it is no longer a free press. It's an own press and a biased press. And therefore, turnabout is fair game. And if it was up to me, I would hire a team of 50 detectives to follow Jake Tapper, Wolf Blitzer, name them if you want. Find out what they do after hours. Find out what they did in 1965. Find out what Wolf Blitzer was doing in 1985. Find out where they're getting their information from. Find out which bars in Washington, D.C. they go to after work and who they're talking to. I was in one of them last week. A very famous bar where you're supposed to be seen and not heard in the downstairs of the Hay Adams Hotel. It's really overrated. I mean, whatever it is, it was fun for a while. You know, at the end of the day, you can't get in there. It's full of millennials getting, their drinks and relaxing and hide in. At night, it's a little more interesting. But truly, that's an example, though, of places that you could trail them, take pictures of them. In other words, do to them what they are doing to Trump and everyone in Trump's family. Because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And in this case, the gander is the media. And don't tell me they're above the law. And don't tell me that it's intimidation to find out what they're doing and how they're colluding, because they're colluding with the Democrat Party as sure as we are sitting here. You would start with Jeff Zucker, for example, of CNN, one of the most rabid mad dogs in the history of the media. That man doesn't believe in a free press. He believes in a freak press. A freak press. Jeff Zucker is running a freak press on CNN. Everyone knows it's not an objective journalistic outlet. Trail Jeff Zucker around for 24 hours, 7 days a week. Find out what Jeff Zucker is doing, who he's talking to. Find out where Jeff Zucker's alliances lie. Find out if there's collusion between Jeff Zucker and anyone in the Obama or Hillary Clinton camps. Then you might have a chance at finding out whether there's true journalism left in this country.
Savage.
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.